Good evening, dirtbags, and welcome to No One's Gonna Hear This Anyways. We're your hosts, Austin and Alex, and today we're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff you're not gonna hear anyways. And if you like hearing about absolutely nothing, like, share, subscribe to Not a Podcast. If you have any questions or requests, email us at notapodcast@gmail.com.
Or don't, because no one's going to hear this anyway.
Coop, did you see what the AI stuff?
Oh yeah. Austin sent it to me, and I was reading through it. And I was like, I gotta make a cup of coffee, cause this shit's nuts, dude. It's fucking nuts, and it directly ties into an experience that I had. So I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago, shortly after the bank collapse, and
Oh, that's right.
yeah. So like since that trip, there has just been like a lot of things AI related that are happening that I'm like, this is interesting. Because so one of the companies that we visited was Nvidia. Do you guys know anything
Nice.
about Nvidia?
Fuck yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Because like I knew what Nvidia was, but like it didn't register how how deep their reach has been in terms of video games for so long that I was like, man, I played some of this guy's like games that he powered, quote unquote, that Nvidia powered on gateways in the early 90s and or in the mid 90s and early 2000s. And they gave so Nvidia gave a huge grant to UF to do AI research, and UF is starting because they have a pretty like nuts computer science program and just staff that they have, and so Nvidia gave a few $1 million for us to do research and stuff, but it's nuts that this letter is coming out now because we're heading into elections.
Yeah,
And
and so just to reference the letter that we're going to be talking about is that Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, Tristan Harris, among other tech experts, signed this open letter calling to halt, in quote, the race for AI research. Just to give some background, but please keep going, Coop.
oh yeah, so um, just the fact that we're at this point where we're in the middle of seeing drama unfold with Donald Trump being potentially under indictment as it stands, and posts circulating through the internet that have that are AI generated images that look a lot of them look pretty real. So you're just like, this is going to get out of hand quickly if people don't do anything about it. And they also just had a major financial institution that kind of fed a lot of this wanton kind of I don't want to say corporatist research necessarily, but kind of that, like it gives off that vibe.
Absolutely.
And
What was it called? It was Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
SVB.
That's just the
SVB.
basic name.
Yeah, SVB. And yeah, so it's very interesting how all this stuff is unfolding right now, because I don't think that they're mutually exclusive at all. Like, I don't think that had SVB fallen, that there wouldn't have been a call for, like, maybe we need to, like, kind of stop this mad rush, because a lot of these firms are VC funded, so they're just getting money pumped into them for the delayed payoff. Like, they have virtually, not unlimited capital, but they have a lot of money to throw around and leverage to make these firms profitable at some point. And it's like, it's nuts. I think the call to pause and kind of weigh next steps is the right thing to do, um, because I mean, we've seen enough science fiction. Like, I don't think that is
Yeah.
like, that's far off. Like, I'm like, Skynet.
Yeah,
Hey
I mean,
guys.
I absolutely agree. And even if not like to the extent of a Skynet thing,
Mhm.
just like when you look at what they're called deep fakes, right?
Yeah.
Deep fakes and voiceovers, AI generated voice, like just in the past like couple months, the quality of these fakes has
gone up exponentially. Yeah.
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 I mean, it is crazy the stuff you see that it's like, man, if they weren't saying such ridiculous stuff right now, like I'd believe it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's
Yeah.
some that start off with just like normal basic talk and then go off the rails. And I'm like, okay, okay, that's fake, but it took me a minute.
I remember the very
know?
first deep fake I witnessed was George W. And it was a still photo, sorta, and it was very mildly like moving, like very very subtle movements to make it look real, but the mouth was definitely moving and it was articulating as it should. And they made him say all sorts of crazy shit like, y'all don't know what happened during 9/11, but I sure do, like shit like that. It's just like, wait, what the fuck? This is fake? You're telling me this is fake? And
Yeah, it's crazy.
seeing the stuff now, it's like, yeah, that shit was fake.
Mm-hmm.
They're
And I mean, some of them are pretty funny. You know, they like a lot of them will be like a joke. You know, like there's a lot of them that it's, you know, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama like playing video games together or something.
yeah,
And
they're.
it sounds like all three of them are there having a conversation.
I saw a video earlier today of a deep fake of what's his name, Will Smith, just eating pasta, and it was the goofiest shit I've ever fucking seen because it's still a far cry from perfect, and it looked like one of those acid trip dreams that you could have
Mm-hmm.
because it was, you know, full motion, and they haven't perfected that.
Yeah, but the thing is we're trending in the wrong direction.
Yes.
You know, we shouldn't really be going towards more realistic. And like when you look back on it, you know, like CGI making, you know, like putting Princess Leia in Rogue One, like Carrie Fisher. I'm pretty sure she'd already died by that point.
Mhm.
Or she was very old. And what's his name? Peter Cushing, who played Tarkin, was in that movie as well. And it's like this is a robot. Like this is a fake image that I'm looking at. This isn't a real person. They're dead.
Yeah.
And
They're
it
CGIing
sounded
Stan
and
Lee
looked
into
like
shit.
it. Yeah. And so that's where it really started, was the computer generation aspect of it. And now you've got a computer that can do it itself, or at least get close to it now. And that's what's crazy, is that like you have taken the human control out of it, and now there's something that can do it on its own. And if it can't do it completely on its own now, how far realistically are we from that right now? Doesn't feel like we're that far away.
At all. Which
And-
is probably what
yeah.
that call to action, their call to stop action.
Yeah,
was
what
about.
really probably started it was Elon Musk saw like a flabby body video of him doing something stupid. He's like, man, fuck that. I'm done with this shit.
This is lame. Fucking stop,
Yeah,
guys.
Like he was laughing at the Joe Biden ones, and then the second something came out about him, he's like, unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'm rich, you can't do this to me.
Yeah. Griping away. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, just this whole thing is very curious and a little worrisome, because I feel like you look back at pre-World War One Earth, like just society, like what we were discovering and like what was going on, and it's kind of weird how there's like a lot of similarities, you know, because we round the 20th century with a mid-swing industrial revolution still, and just kind of like not really understanding the destructive capability of science and it being applied to weapons and those things, and how basically the military industrial complex comes to be, basically.
Yeah.
And it is very spooky to see some of this stuff. Like now we're dealing, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's a mirror image in my mind, at least, that right now our discovery that is mirroring that time is AI and a lot of more, way more technologically advanced digital computerized things. And unsure of what to do with it because the like people get super sideways about automating certain jobs, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And understandably, people are like, well, what about my job? And it's like, you can find another job. Obviously, that's not the answer that anybody wants to give or hear because it's difficult. And I'm not trying to like say that, like that's going to be easy, but this was something that I talked about with my younger brother that like we just have like we want to make things faster, but then we don't want to accept some of the other qualities of the deal, so to speak, as things advance. And so, for example, like you are going to put people out of work by implementing automation, but implementing automation yields more things, costs less over time, whatever justification economically that you can make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens to the people? Well, that's where other aspects of society need to be invested into, especially education systems. And like one thing that I was talking about today in class actually with one of my professors, we're doing a market and disruption case study class. Really fascinating. And he used to work on Wall Street, so he just has been in those rooms and has spoken to people that are running multi-billion-dollar asset portfolios and all that stuff. Anyways, one of the things that he talked about was Europe having like a vocational system that vocational education system that's in place to make sure that people are still like matriculating into jobs that that are, I guess, quote unquote non-traditional white collar jobs like plumbing or doing lumber work or whatever. Like obviously people want to make like like in Florida we never had shop class.
No.
We had online PE. Like it was a fucking joke on some of this stuff, like there was
PE.
like online team sports. And like some people cheered that on because they were the introverted kids that just like didn't want to be in that situation because they were afraid to get bullied, rightly or wrongly so, whatever. Or people that just don't like team sports, which is also a thing. Like I'm kind of one of those people because I like the journey of advancing in something, like what we talked about in the previous episode of like weightlifting and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like online PE, what the fuck? Like that's my thing is like why are we setting such a low bar now when we know better?
Man, yeah, that's that. I'm not quite sure how to respond to that. Online PE, I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, let's exercise our digital muscles, bro.
I mean, I loved PE. That was to me just such a great break from the monotony of class. I loved being out there. I think that there's too much catering to certain people instead of trying to just be like, okay, well, here are options. Mm-hmm. Instead of being like, okay, well, we're going to not do PE anymore. We're going to do this because, you know, the introverted crowd who doesn't care for organized sports, they said they want this. Or their parents, more so, said they want this. And cool. I'm totally fine with you not wanting to be in PE or be in an organized sport. Like, you shouldn't have to. I think it's a worthwhile thing to do just because it's great socializing. And it's just a good experience for learning how to work with others. That being said, it's not necessary. And it should be optional. I know plenty of kids who are the one who was just hiding in, PE, like sitting on the bleachers or sitting under the bleachers and not talking to anybody. And I never personally understood it because I took that as the opportunity to be social and to, run around and get some energy out because I was very ADHD. But
yeah.
So going back to the AI stuff, it brings like these really big morality questions. And Mike, you made a really good point about how some people got fucked over during the Industrial Revolution through automation. And there's a couple of
Mechanation.
Automation and mechanation. There's a couple of morality points that I kind of want to throw at you guys and get your input on.
Sure.
And the first is with respect to those job losses. You had the Industrial Revolution, people on the lines were replaced by machines. So those people were told to go kick rocks and figure something out. We're in a much more advanced position now because we're in a technological revolution. Everything that's being advanced upon is electronic. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to manual labor and say that's not in trouble. But what do you guys feel about that same situation happening now? You have the creative artist that used to draw up memes of George W. Bush and Will Smith eating pasta. They're going to be out of a job.
Well, yeah, and like think about actors too. So like Saturday Night Live has made its entire legacy based on like political satire.
Yeah.
And like what if you don't need that anymore? What if you can literally just have whatever politician you want making fun of themselves, saying irreverent things, like being a caricature of themselves, but now an AI is doing it.
Would that be
Well,
would that be not smearing, what's the word? Not libel.
Slander.
Yeah. Would that be slander?
I don't know. I mean, is SNL slander?
no, but that also brings up a question of like,
It's not a direct reference, so no. But if
right.
you have the a fake of the politician doing exactly what it is you're slandering, that makes the line less blurred. I feel.
It's not, I mean, well, because like acting is imitation, and you'll have their name attached to it. It is directly referencing them. They will say, President Bush, what do you think about this? Well, I'm just gonna go eat barbecue, and that's what they're making fun of in Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
But they don't. I don't think they use the president's actual name.
They absolutely do.
Oh yeah, they absolutely.
Yeah.
They're
They use
elected
everybody's
official.
name. Yeah. So they're not. I guess it's technically a form of free speech, like free expression.
Because it's satire. And I just
Yeah.
thought about that. There is kind of a clause where satire is given the get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Well, so then but that's still like where's the line get drawn?
True. And would
to decide that the AI that's fake, it is a fake thing happening for the sake of comedy or however you want it. Like, where's the legality lie with that?
and also if you say the image is too real, well, where's that line? You start coming up with these lines that you need to draw, and you get overwhelmed, and then people give up and just shut it down completely.
Yeah, and I mean that speaks to the speed at which we're going too. I mean, we have no idea what the line is for any of this stuff right now because it's all just coming up.
Right.
And I was thinking about something while you were talking again back to like Industrial Revolution times. How when you had a scientific discovery, it typically took years to metabolize, like to turn into something, to gestate and to percolate, like to become something. It took years of discovery and research.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, it's like someone took the governor off the car and we just started going as fast as we wanted to. And I mean, we were having latchkey discoveries every other week.
Yeah.
Something huge that keeps breaking through. And then you look even to the past 40 years. I think we were talking about this last time, Serrano, that the speed has gone up exponentially, and that how do you stop something like that?
So
Where we're just moving at light speed in terms of advancements technologically. It went from physical discovery to a more intangible form.
it's in the hands of the scientists. A really big discussion in any STEM field is the morality behind that which you are pursuing.
It's not a question of can, it's a question of should we.
should, yeah.
And why?
Especially in medicine, yeah, there needs to be a motive. What's the motive? Especially in medicine, we had the stem cell scare of the early 2000s, like, oh, the devil wants to harvest your stem cell. It's like, dude, this we've done the research, and like this procedure and this process cures people from paralysis.
Yeah.
And like, oh fuck, I already forgot where the fuck I was going with that. The morality back then, yeah, the morality back then was fear based, and so we shouldn't do it. We don't understand it, but the scientists were like, nah, bet, and they took the risk of potentially having this blow out of proportion, because what we understood back then, stem cells were like this golden egg of recovery based medicine and rehabilitation. So what's stopping us from, completely reviving somebody, like bringing somebody back from the dead? Like, that's the most wild concept I heard back then. But it was in a place of ignorance. And that begs the question, because we're in a place of ignorance in relationship to AI, is that the right move? Should we hit the brakes, or should we let it happen and hope for the best and see if it comes out like stem cell research, or we end up in Bioshock?
It's not like so black and white though. You can go slower. It's more about the speed that we're going, where we're outpacing the possibility or our ability to comprehend the ramifications of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not so much that we're going in that direction. It's we haven't given ourselves time to ask why. What the fuck do we need AI like this for? What purpose does it serve? And then that's the why part. And then, like the morality, like you're imitating other people where you can see them look exactly alike and hear them exactly alike. And then on top of that, we're not even going into so far the topic of how it can think for itself. At what point does it compete with human brain function?
I have a sneaking suspicion it never will, until the quantum computers start getting involved. In a binary computer, it will never ever compete with the human mind. It'll blow it out of the water in terms of processing, but decision making and executive function and prediction, like sensible prediction, it's no contest.
You think quantum mechanics is the difference between that and this?
Yes, because what we do in our minds is go through every possibility. At least every reasonable possibility.
Yeah, there's multiple dimensions inside the human brain.
Right. And we have the ability to kind of perceive what is the most likely outcome, even though we can't, a lot of times, I'm not going to say always, but a lot of times we can't articulate why we feel some way, so that's a gut feeling. And 9 times out of 10, gut feelings are fucking right. Explain that shit to me.
Yeah.
I can if I go into quantum mechanics and explain how the human brain is more capable of perceiving statistical statistical processes and what is most likely to show up. But that's a conversation for another fucking day.
Yeah.
So I think we're good so long as we keep it binary. But as soon as you get a quantum computer involved, that's when I'm going to be like, yo, time out.
Yeah, Alex Serrano in wherever the fuck you are, Midwest.
Yeah.
Hey, guys,
Kansas City.
Time out.
Yeah, guys, time out.
Please.
I'm going to knock on Elon Musk's door and be like, yo, time out.
Yeah, like this can really improve people's lives if we actually think about the right applications and not just do shit that's going to make corporate America do things, just not limited to who pays the most money. You know what I mean? Like we need to, because like here's the thing. Like we started coding, and people started getting into programming, and like the amount, like the renaissance that we had as far as like software development that happened in a pretty truncated period of time comparatively is like indicative of what it takes to see the lengths of what this, to see the limit of like what can be applied to AI, and like the types of questions that you can answer without doing anything that is like destructive. Because you know the should we question kind of has to always be there. Because you know, like scientists can't just be like, why not? At least I don't feel like that's how it should work, unless you're just out of ideas.
Yeah, I get that.
Man, what if the world turned into BioShock? We just dropped all scientific morality, and we're just like pedal to the metal.
Is that what that game is about?
Well, the City
like
of Rapture, yes.
Lovecraftian, right?
It was a little bit Lovecraft. Like, there was Lovecraftian inspiration, absolutely. But it's the city underwater because they needed a place to get away from the moralities that restrained the world above. And
there weren't any like otherworldly beings.
Right. Just mutations that were brought about by this unhinged scientific research that just so happened to focus mostly on engineering and genetics.
Yeah, genetic manipulation was the biggest thing.
So you had things like the little girls, you had the big daddies.
Let's not get too deep into that, because it's still that's fiction, and what we have right now coming into
is fucking
reality.
Fact.
And we've got actual facts coming in of, you know, a possibility of some crazy shit going down.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't the first time that we've kind of pumped the brakes on this sort of thing, because we put an AI program into a, you know, fucking Raptor or whatever that jet plane is. And you know, we're just testing it, and there was a movie that was made about that in the early 2000s. Stealth. Yeah. And I was always just like, you know, this is pretty deep, like interesting movie, but like, I wonder what's gonna happen. Are we actually gonna do that?
That's another line I refuse to cross. Like, if you want to fuck with AI, don't give it access to the internet. Don't plug it into a wall. Just keep it isolated. ChatGPT is cute. You know, I got a really cool idea for some programming shit that I'm doing in the game I'm developing. It gave me a really good, it gave me really good feedback. But that's it. Like, optimization questions. Those are the kinds of things I would expect AI to be useful for.
Yeah.
But injecting that shit into
Siri.
into what is it, an F-35 Raptor or something like that?
Yeah.
No, that has lethal possibility. No, thank you. Pause. Time out, guys.
Yep. It's time for the famous Alex Serrano time.
Time out.
Yeah.
I'm also doing the T motion with my hands, like just for context.
You gotta do it, especially as a Cuban. You gotta talk.
Hey, time out. Ven acá.
But I was just thinking too. It's, you know, like my job, for instance, kind of taking a step backwards. I don't think my job is in jeopardy.
Oh fuck no.
Like you said, like the blue collar work, you can't really automate it. And especially like my kind of job, there's a lot of problem solving that goes into a lot of the calls that we have to go on.
You can remotely,
a lot of humanity.
You can have some remote solutions, not automated. I'm saying remote solutions to firefighting, because of, you know, helicopters, they drop the water and stuff. You can technically fly a helicopter with remote control. So
but the majority of what we do isn't actually firefighting.
Right. Like grabbing people that are in the most danger. Like, and that's also going back to my thought process and how the AI will never compete with the human mind, how would a computer accurately assess triage? It's going to look for very strict standards, but it has no way of foreseeing something that's happening. Like, you might have someone that looks like they're about to recover, but you look up and it's like something's about to fucking fall on them. And you're not going to make it in time, so you're just like, well, fuck. That's an extreme scenario. I don't think that's ever really happened. But the computer would try to rescue this person, waste that time. This thing would fall on them. They would get more injured and become a higher risk on that triage consideration. And so now the AI,
something like that would be applicable to like an MVA, like a motor vehicle accident,
right?
Like on the highway,
like someone's pinned, and you hear the creaking and groaning, and you're just like, fuck. But so to go save somebody else that's not in that immediate danger, because if you put yourself in it, knowing the environment, you're gonna put yourself in danger too. Like that kind of situation, the AI would not be able to process that situation. They would just go for it, and then they would get trapped, and that's it. Like, you just lost this AI buddy that cost you $4.5 million.
Yeah, see, like that's the only thing that would bother people about that is the fact that it costs $4.1 million. Like, at some point, if it's worth $50,000, you're paying the same amount for a car as you are for this AI, then people aren't going to give a shit if it gets crushed.
True.
They're not going to care. Like, you put a big dollar sign on it, everybody's going to give a shit. But, like, they're not going to give a shit if it's nothing, if it's not worth that much. So I feel like that kind of argument isn't so much I don't want to say invalid, but it's not as applicable.
Right.
To me, I'm just thinking more.
Yeah, I'm just grasping at straws.
Aspect. Like, there's the human interaction part of what I do and the community part of what I do. Like, we're part of the community we work in. And people want another human being to come and help them because they can talk to that person. And some of these people that call 911 are just lonely sometimes. And calling 4 firefighters to their house is the most human interaction they're going to have all day.
Wow.
And I know that's like a weird argument to have against, trying to put something mechanized or automated. But it's a huge part of why we do what we do. And you put a robot that has no compassion and no ability for compassion, no capacity for it. Like, how do you think that would affect people? We're about halfway through our show, and that means it's time to remind you, if you like what you're not hearing, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on absolutely nothing important.
Or don't, because no one's going to hear this anyway. I feel...
That's not a rhetorical question, that's a real question.
I feel that the overall empathy in the social sphere will decrease, because if we just grow to accept it, those are extremely intimate moments that we are excising from our own experiences. Mm-hmm. Being lifted out because you just got your leg freaking powdered by some brick wall that fell on you, and you look up and you see Austin's goofy ass smile, just like, buddy, you're gonna be safe. Like, that shit's heartwarming. And
I'm not smiling in that situation.
Like,
I'll tell you that much.
Movie Hollywood scene.
I'm more like, oh god.
Oh shit! Like, damn, your leg's fucked up, bro. Yeah, but still, like that look
at it.
That interaction is, for lack of a better word, it's intimate. Like, bruh, you just saved my life. Like, I owe you an immense debt, and to kind of pass that exchange of empathy, in the grand scheme of things, might not be noticeable, but it'll be there, and it'll be something to think about. Like, how will it impact the overall empathy sphere of society. Because it's not just, the firefighters. You'd have to also consider paramedics.
Yeah, and I mean police. Like, police have to solve some seriously complex problems.
Yeah.
Typically in a quicker time frame than we do.
Yep.
But... And this goes, I mean, all the way to, like, really being a plumber. Like, you want a human being to come and talk to you because they're going to empathize with the situation you're in. Like, if you can't take a dump in your toilet, they're going to be like, okay, we got you, man. We're going to fix this. We know how important it is to have your evening shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That
it's
and
just that problem solving.
I would also say dexterous work that requires very high dexterity is also extremely safe. So something like a plumber
Plastic
that you're
surgery.
you're trying to grab these tiny little pipes, or you're trying to reach way into a
Like
wall.
an electrician.
Electrician is safe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not electrical engineer, because that would be one of the first things I do with AI is what is the most efficient routing of cables?
Mm-hmm.
How do I convert? Like, what is the most effective way to convert power? And where are the most effective places to put outlets?
And by what you've told me, they're already kind of close to that.
No, I'm pretty sure I can open up ChatGPT right now, ask those questions, and be given some sort of like valid response. I can't confirm it because I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I could say with some certainty that they at least fucking tried.
Mm-hmm. And so, Cooper, here's one for you: music.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Like,
it's the way that I feel about it right now is that we're going to, as artists, learn to coexist with it and make it still a tool that we wield to make stuff that is our own, because that is still the art form. I mean, you look at, for instance, like in this moment, I'm definitely drawing on hip hop, where they already, they just they sampled and made music with music that was already good, and that came out in fucking incredible, because hip hop is still one of the most listened to genres internationally. Okay. And it is a serious question, and it is kind of concerning, but I think that what will end up happening is that we're going to start using these AI technologies to develop new plugins, new other things to make our lives even, to make our arsenal more unique and individualized when we make music, because everybody has their own kind of set of sounds or like process of doing things or approach to things. Mm-hmm. And I think that it will be able to automate certain things as well, like mixing, because some of that is it's quantifiable, because you're doing things at a measurable, in a measurable data point, like how many decibels it is. What's the degree left or right, or pan left or right. When it gets a little bit more interesting is when you're trying to automate when certain things need to change in terms of effects as the song progresses. So
I feel like that worked really well for like solo acts.
Exactly, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of interesting applications for it as far as music production goes. Visual production, we've already seen, we've already seen it transform rapidly.
Yeah.
Like that is nuts. Like I remember 2 or 3 years ago when people were just like putting in like they were getting kind of just really goofy internet images, and then now it's like, oh yeah, this is what this is what this would look like if this was depicted in real life, and you're like, damn. So you get like that's why I brought up Donald Trump when he was supposedly supposed to be indicted or whatever. And there's pictures circulating of him being chased by dudes in suits and, you know, being held at gunpoint and all this other shit. And it's like, you know, and then on top of that, that asshole is like, yeah, there's going to be chaos and violence. There's going to be chaos and violence if I get arrested. Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like what specifically they called out in the letter, which I was like, wow, this is very aware, is specifically about propaganda
Yeah.
and misinformation. And I was like, thank God that these people actually took a moment to speak some sense, because I've used ChatGPT to write, like, to get inspiration, to kind of like get some sort of soundboard to test certain things. You know, I've tested like certain business concepts in ChatGPT and gotten really interesting results. So like there is a wide range of things that ChatGPT is very well capable of, and it can certainly be used to very, very destructive like means and ways to
Easily. And if there's ever there's a tool
Yeah.
that's capable of it, people are going to use it for that end.
Right, yeah, because, you know, America's a battleground of lobby groups and shit. So like and that's another thing, is that it's like, where's this money coming from? Like,
Where does it go?
yeah, where does it go?
Where is this
Who's
money, Cotton Eye Joe?
Who's benefiting from this research? Why are people driving it in these particular directions? Like, what's the what?
So
And
I think that's because we're stagnating in terms of technology. Like, if you look
Yeah.
at processors, you know, we're hitting a pretty solid threshold. So our hardware is kind of it. Like we're peaking at this point.
oh, that is, so you guys know Moore's law, right?
Right. That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Right. So when I visited NVIDIA, and I can't really like talk about it too much because I just signed a bunch of fucking NDAs. I mean, I think most of their technology was already like kind of disclosed as far as research goes, because they are publicly traded, if I'm not mistaken. But that's one of the things that they kind of alluded to. Like, yeah, we are thinking beyond Moore's law, and I was just like, yo, it's 8:30 in the morning, in the middle of the week, and
This is the first thing out of your mouth, dog. Time out.
yeah, I was like, wait, what? And then they start talking about like this investment program that they have in companies that, because basically what they're doing is instead of allowing competition to foment on its own in things that they are interested in, they're just going to fund you and give you what you want. You're just making money for them. They're taking the Roman approach, where it's just like, listen, we own you, but keep doing your thing. You know, and I think
so
that's a smart decision.
NVIDIA, that's public. That's public that they don't believe in Moore's law anymore.
I don't know that it's public, but that's one of the things that they were talking about as far as like what the research perspective is that they're doing.
Well,
You
no,
know,
I'm just
they're-
saying like that was like their CEO's stance was they considered Moore's law dead.
That wasn't
that's
the
like
CEO's
2000.
stance. That was in a presentation that they gave us specifically.
I'm saying this is from 2022.
Oh,
like
you found
you-
something on it?
Oh,
Yes, yeah. I'm not going to speak out of my ass on this one. That's for sure. I looked this up.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
saying you're in the clear.
Yeah. Like, that was one thing that I was like, what? That's nuts. And then also like just to add to like, wow, this is absolutely wild that we're like post COVID, one of the first colleges to be doing this. And that this has been like an ongoing effort, and it's a bunch of business students, like not a single engineering student on this trip, and we're all just sitting there like, wait, this is the guy at the end of the table that, like, he's one of three people that like developed this company that powered and made all of the video games that we grew up with possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the technology grandfather. And I was like, what? I was sitting next to one of my classmates, Fernando. He's from Bolivia, and he was just like, dude, I had such a hard time processing that. Like, we're just sitting there, and then they're talking about Moore's Law not really being, like, relevant.
Yeah, that's like the foundation of technology.
Yeah, and it was just like, damn, dude, this is some nut shit. And then we're also, walking around San Francisco in the middle of this bank crisis. Like,
That must have been surreal.
I mean, we came after the dust had settled because it was pretty rapid, but that's another thing that I'm like, yo, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why is the FDC or FDIC, whatever, ensuring, billionaires deposits that they, were giving to a bank that there was no way that they didn't know what they were doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as how they managed assets, and like that's another thing that bothers me is that KPMG made a statement that their rating was cleared and like SVB wasn't in any sort of like real jeopardy, quote unquote. But the thing is that they were just not they weren't doing sound banking. I don't totally understand a lot of those like concepts and principles, but what I do understand is some of their bond investing strategy is what did them in, and they just were not very careful or following any sort of meaningful risk mitigation strategy. And that's where it's not that I guess they were trying to be aggressive in terms of how they invested, which isn't really what they should be doing, because what they should be doing is reasonably conservative strategies to make sure that the money grows at a stable rate.
Well, it also depends on the level that people are requesting. Because, I mean, you can typically request if you want aggressive or conservative investing.
Right. So that's the thing, is that you have to balance, because a bank is a mutual fund.
Yes.
In function. And I don't know what what those conversations or those terms are, but just the worrying aspect that the federal government was just like, yeah, we'll insure their loss.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that these people do not need that. I mean, I met people that were on the lower end of the totem pole that were like, this shit was scary because if we didn't do what we had to do and losing sleep for a few days to like run numbers and figure shit out, we would have had to declare bankruptcy, and that would have been like catastrophic to what we're doing right now because we're not that big. So like there were legit people that were hurt by this.
Mm-hmm.
Short term in terms of cash management, and like like they're like, yeah, we bought another month, and it's like, wait, what? Like, you guys are that close to just going under? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And
getting a little close there, aren't you, buddy?
Yeah. So those people, the kind of, I guess, granola entrepreneurs that are in their infancy were affected by it, but then these other huge firms had no business in having their money saved. And I think that that's kind of ridiculous that we're just letting the rich play ball and not keep them on the hook.
Yeah, and I mean, also, there's like what you had said earlier that like that they know what they're doing. It's like we like to think that they do, but at the end of the day, they are human beings. So this isn't immune from human error.
Right. Well, and that's
like
one thing.
Mistakes can get made, and that can lead to a snowball effect or something.
Exactly. But my thing is that they were making the comparison that this was like 2008, and my question that never really got answered, unfortunately, was that 2008 was 25 banks doing dumb shit when it came to mortgage rates.
Mm-hmm.
and loans. This was a bank failing to just do some of its basic functions as far as doing things to secure money and ensuring the safety of funds. Like, they're supposed to be responsible stewards of money put in their possession.
Mm-hmm. Is there a relation between this and like FTX?
I am not sure,
No.
but the whole FTX.
FTX is
Is a separate thing. That's
yeah,
cryptocurrency.
it's a cryptocurrency thing.
Well, I know what FTX was. I'm asking if there was any relation to it. I mean,
Did it
sure,
influence this?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So.
No.
I don't think so because there's I think, from my understanding at least, that there's a different group of investors that were focused in on that weren't.
That's the question I'm
people
asking.
by
It's
SPX.
It's not like there is there a direct
Correlation.
line. Yeah, direct line correlation between the two. I'm asking more.
No.
In the broad scope. No.
Not that we know so far. I mean,
Mm.
I think it's an overall theme and indicative of some fall of society type of shit where we're reaching a point of weird results, and we're getting kind of we're turning into what the existentialists actually dreaded, which is people that just get bored and don't do anything.
Yeah.
And we're kind of approaching that, but yeah, it was wild to hear some of these answers and just not to see the disconnect, because you have to understand how people behave from their perspective in order to empathize with them. But it's I can empathize with a guy who is still, he's 5 years into his startup and was shitting a brick because he didn't have $600K for payroll and would otherwise have to declare bankruptcy based on federal protocol, while some other dickhead who was just gonna lose $2 billion out of his $15 billion fortune, that guy can fuck off. Invest better, trust, get other people to manage your money better. I don't know, you have that much resource available to you, and you choose to skimp.
Get AI to manage your money.
I mean, I was talking with a guest of mine yesterday that works in banking, and just hearing him, he's like, my clients are 15 million plus, and you see people with this amount of money doing really stupid things, and or turning into horrible people because money is involved. And he's like, I think that, his thoughts were similar to mine in that it's nuts that the federal government was just like, yeah, sure, we'll foot the bill. They had no business doing that. For 2008, I think it was a very different scenario because it was, it's a huge functionality that banks are involved in as far as home ownership goes, because people need homes. And there's a way to get it, and it's mortgages, and you need an institution to manage that. And it's a totally different context, in my opinion, and to equate it to that situation is academically lazy in certain ways.
It's a false equivalency.
I'm sure that there were similar things that happened because it's a financial institution not managing its money well. There's only so many wrong things that you could find that would make that situation happen. But yeah, it's dude, what the fuck? Anyways,
I do remember reading somewhere that they considered it isolated, after the fact, that they were saying this is not indicative of a massive collapse that's pending.
No, and I think, I think using that as a signal for a fall of society, no, there's plenty of other things we could look at.
I like how the fall of society rests solely on a bunch of old dudes feeling one way or another.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the society. I'm just talking about another 2008.
Yeah.
Society didn't collapse in 2008. We just, it definitely took a few punches, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird time. We had a black president, and everybody was weird about that.
Yeah.
I remember
people didn't know how to feel about that one.
No, and I remember
I was really personally excited about it.
Same. I remember growing up, and my parents are more conservative than me, and listening to Rush Limbaugh in traffic and just being
very conservative.
Whoa, this guy doesn't think good things are happening. This guy literally thinks Obama is like going to bring America to its destruction. And I was like, what is this guy on? Like,
That's not at all what the president does.
no, well, and like, dude, we had senators that were like, oh, so I can't say the N word now, and it's like, dude, you could say it since 1965, asshole. Like,
yeah, you
let's
couldn't
get
say it
fucking-
before, you fucking moron.
Yeah, like, let's get real, dude.
Yeah, people showed their true colors a lot during that one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude, and like another guest that I served yesterday, she actually started talking to the banker guest, and she watches OAN and Newsmax, and I was like, damn, so you are just like, you love Mike Lindell, don't you? I did say that, but I was like, man, I'm just not going to engage. And sure enough, we started getting into kind of a debate, and it started on January 6th, and I was like, oh, here we go. Oh my God. And this person believed that it was staged. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And like, yes, did police reports indicate that there was concern that like anti-fascist groups were going to protest? Like, yeah, sure. That was a problem everywhere at that point. Mm-hmm. That was not isolated in Washington, D.C. But to have like that series of events happen and then just be like, yeah, the Democrats planned it all. No. Not even the Republicans planned it. At least, as far as we know, as a political group, no. Like that's my thing about some of these conspiracy theorists or theories that get pushed in like alt-right communities, like Pizzagate. Like just kind of whack ass like very shallow correlated things that get turned into like this movement and philosophy that is really, really disturbing, and like a lot of that I feel came out in COVID, and it was peak Trump fever because we had 3 years of a relatively stable presidency, with some dumb shit here and there, but like as his term was nearing its end, it was getting worse and worse and worse. And then COVID happened, and he was unprepared because he was a fucking idiot and didn't have his infrastructure set up to deal with this kind of thing because he dismantled it. And then loses the election despite the level of fraud that was detected. Like, this was deemed the most secure election we've ever had. And people are like, well, that, like, what about the fraud? And it's like, the most secure election means that, not that there wasn't no fraud, but that there was
less fraud statistically.
Right, less fraud statistically. And the thing is that you're going to have people double vote. You're going to have people vote in multiple states, whether they're Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter. Like, there's going to be fraud on both sides. But, yeah, so just like the level of cognitive dissonance that gets displayed is really scary because when, like, it's like the whole thing of cults. Like, cults literally make people functionally disassociate from accepting fact in a lot of ways. Mm. And it's really disturbing to see that real time, and to have someone like Mike Lindell be like your like voice of truth.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yeah, man. Like, people who are whack jobs. I mean, the fact that Alex Jones got sued for, I don't know, however hundreds of millions of dollars, I was like,
1.3 billion or something.
Like, you deserve that, brother. You did that shit yourself.
Yeah, claiming that Sandy Hook was a hoax.
Yeah.
I will tell you, there's a fond memory I have of Alex Jones on InfoWars where he was describing Hillary Clinton trying to open a jar of pickles. Uh-huh. Are you familiar with this? No. That's something that anybody who's listening should really look up. And he goes like on a rant about it, that she opened a jar of pickles on a show. And he said that's not how you open a can of pickles. You pop it. You don't twist it like a jar of peanut butter. You pop it. And he just keeps making this like wrist jerk motion to signify popping, and then they hand him a jar of pickles and he can't open it.
Oh man.
So like that's just yeah, dude, it is so worthwhile.
Is it the same episode where he claimed that the water was turning the frogs gay?
I don't know about that, but I know the pickle, that was Picklegate. That was his Picklegate. Yeah. That's something worth checking out, but you know, at the end of the day, people are fucking dumb, man.
I forgot what someone in political power, maybe not Indian, might have been Middle Eastern, but he straight up says, the people are retarded, and I couldn't agree more.
Oh, that was wasn't that Israel?
I can't tell you because I didn't actually look into who said it.
I know that. I know who you're talking about. He's I think it's Middle Eastern. I know the video. That was like his sage advice.
Yeah, like, which it makes sense. Not in so many words, but you would hope that the average person in your population has a certain level of intelligence when in fact they have less than half of that. You know, there's an assumption for politics where a reasonable voter has XYZ knowledge of the political scape. And in reality, like, less than half of the people voting know anything about what the hell you were just saying. And so the people are retarded.
There you go.
But definitely just not thinking critically that
tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I also find that word to be academically lazy, but like I just it makes me so worried and curious at the same time of like, how did you come to accept these truths, like these things to be true? And what is it that is holding you back from questioning that? Like, you should question everything. You should never not question stuff. Like, even things that you used to hold true, like, test it. Always be... Like, that's one thing that, like, I, like, definitely took home from being in Theta Chi back in undergrad was, like, you should always, not question reality, but, like, there is always something you need to figure out and learn for yourself, and sometimes it's on the other side of things that you used to hold true that aren't true anymore, that are just holding you back from the reality that is before you. You know, like that was something that, like, especially like if you're coming out of like breaking a drinking habit or something like that, that you just, like, as you age, you start to realize, like, man, this really hurts, and like you just start drinking progressively less because it just feels better to do that, and like you don't get like you don't get the post bender blues or anything like that because you didn't spend 3 days in a row drinking. Like
Post bender blues.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And yeah, because alcohol is a depressant, man. Like if you like, you experiencing those effects is due to saturation, not like the physiological effects.
Buddy, I'm 5 years sober. You're preaching to the choir.
Right, yeah, like you get it. Like that was, like that's one of the
I had to mourn the death of being able to do drugs and drink.
Yeah. Yeah. And like recognize that maybe there were some good moments that you had, but that
those times are gone.
Those times are done. And like that's one thing that somebody asked me recently about moving to Gainesville, that they're like, aren't you like partying constantly? And I'm like, no, I like maybe go out once a month, if that. Not because I don't have money, but because I just don't have like time or the energy to do it, because I'm focused on doing the shit that I need to be doing.
Adulthood fucking sucks.
Yeah, there's that element, but I'm also like in grad school, so it's just even more stressful because you have deadlines, and then you're also working, and then you are trying to have some kind of social life and develop cool relationships with your classmates and stuff. And
yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that, Serrano.
I don't know, man. Everything hurts.
I
Everything's
thoroughly
expensive.
enjoy adulthood. Yeah, but
Adulthood is cool.
you can still afford it.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah, it's definitely not what I thought it was going to be. It's way
taxes.
harder. Taxes. Taxes. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that part of growing up is learning to give up things and like you like for yourself. So, and it comes from questioning things like, am I doing like, is this okay for me to do anymore? And if it's not, you got to change it. Otherwise, like, that candid moment that you had with yourself is for nothing, and then you're just gonna feel a lot of self-betrayal, and that makes you even more depressed. So then it's just a vicious cycle. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it like that was something that I definitely struggled with coming out of school, because like drinking culture in college is one thing, but then once you start having a lot of responsibilities and try to like get ahead, you just don't have the time. You can't give the time or energy to it because it's just making your life in the day-to-day challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the three pillars of life: money, time, and energy. When you're a kid, you got plenty of time and you got plenty of energy, not a whole lot of money. When you're an adult, you got plenty of money and you got plenty of energy, but not a whole lot of time.
Yep.
And as an old person, you got a whole lot of time, you got a whole lot of money, but not a whole lot of energy.
Man, I got a shit ton of all three. I don't know what you're fucking talking about.
You are
Man,
the unicorn.
I work 10 days a month, my dude.
But it's like 24 hours on.
Yeah, I mean, it's sure it's 24 hours on, and you're a little bit tired the next day. But that's the whole thing about you're still a young adult with energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, drink a yerba mate, have a cup of coffee, and
Keep
you're
going.
good to go. You rally. Like, I remember I came off of working, I think it was 96 hours straight. This was a couple of years ago. And my buddy and his wife and my wife and I had planned we were going to go to Charleston. And so my buddy and I worked all 4 days straight together. Right? Like, we ended up being at the same station just all 4 days. And on day 5, we woke up that morning, and I think our wives met us at the station and in one car, and then we hopped in my old Jeep, and we just took off and drove 4.5 hours to the coast, and then went to the beach. And it was like just another day, and you get crushed all 4 days, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, well, now I'm off, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna rally, I'm gonna make this happen, because now I've got 4 days straight of not being at work, where I'm gonna be at the beach.
Damn. That makes me want a wife.
I was gonna say, y'all in the wrong career.
Nice. Yeah, and you got to be in shape too, so I love that part.
Yeah, and you have all the facilities to do so while you're at work for however many days. Every station's got a full gym. Work out, you cook, eat, sit in a recliner, watch some TV, get in bed at night, and hope you get some sleep. And if it's gonna be one of those nights, you put a pot of coffee on, have a cigarette, and get to work.
Yeah, like tonight is going to be one of those for me.
Tonight is?
Yep.
Sucks.
It's okay. It's grad school.
Still, it's always got its downfall.
Yeah. Yeah, because, it carries over into the next day, and, like, right now my schedule, I don't really have, not necessarily days off where, like, I have nothing. Like, I have something every day, but basically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have class Monday through Thursday, right? But then I work at the pantry Monday, Wednesday, Friday in like the morning to early afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and now Tuesday, I work at the bistro. And I don't have to work 5 days straight to make what I need to make at this job, but it's still like
That's kinda
a
rough.
schedule. Yeah, because I just don't have any downtime, or like the downtime that I have is doing assignments, and it's like, oh my god, I need to
that's
live.
one good thing is once you leave work, that's it for me. Like,
Yeah,
you're
I love
done.
that part. Oh,
I mean,
man.
you bring home baggage and trauma.
Yeah,
It manifests
You
itself
do
differently
carry
for
it.
everybody, but you don't necessarily have projects like outside of like your house projects. Like if I want to do something good to the house, like that's what I have to work on when I'm not here. But I leave work at work as best I can, and we don't ever have stuff that we need to do at home.
Mm-hmm.
That was the shitty part about working in oil and gas was it's a 24-hour business, so guess who worked 24/7 and was fucking salaried like a schmuck.
Ooh, rough.
Oof, they got your ass.
Yeah, they got me good when I went to Alabama. But yeah, kerosene was my pot of coffee. I would huff that shit in the wee hours of the morning because I was running tests on it. And
Give you a little zip.
that put some pep in my step. I'll tell you what.
Put some lead in your pencil.
Yeah, man. I'll never forget one of the tests you do for jet fuel. Jet fuel is kerosene. It's just really pure kerosene. One of the tests we do is particulates to see if there's any like dirt and gunk inside of it. So you pass it through a filter pad, and the way you load the contraption is there's a hopper on top, and you just pour in your specimen and you let it filter through and whatever. And this was I was doing a run before we got the new lab like plugged in, and so there was no circulation. So I'm face level with this hopper, putting in raw kerosene, the good shit. I put a gallon of it, and when I was done, it ended up being the last test I did, so it didn't really hit me while I was inside. But I got to my car, put the keys in the ignition, looked up, and saw double, and I was like, oh boy. Yeah, I just took the keys out of the ignition and I just fucking chilled.
Just you were along for the ride, man. It was groovy.
Yeah, it took it was a solid 15-minute nap that I had to take.
Yeah, that was probably a risky move. Going to sleep right there.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of fine, right?
I don't know. You're the scientist.
I was supposed to get tested for benzene poisoning before I left, and I never did.
Excellent.
Because I handled gasoline.
One day that might rear its ugly head, but that day is not today, my friend.
Oh yeah, it's gonna come up as lung cancer, my dude. That's gonna be fucking gnarly.
But that's all the time we have for today's episode.
Alright.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper,
My
for
pleasure.
gracing us with your presence yet again.
Cobra
We really
Commander
appreciate it.
Cooper.
You're cool.
And so if you like Cooper here in Cooper, he's got Instagram, Baseboy Coop, Voyager Beats. He makes some good music. He made our music for this show. And he's going to be popping in from time to time.
Yep, it's exciting. Definitely stay in tune with us.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. If you like what you're not hearing, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on absolutely nothing important. Or don't.
Because no one's going to hear this anyway.